Hello, it's me, Vicky Marie. Okay, so in today's video, I'm going to talk about Chris Watts. Have you heard of him? Now, Chris Watts is what psychologists call a family annihilator. In other words, this not very nice man. I will try my best not to swear throughout this video, but it's quite upsetting. So I just want to tell you now, it may upset you if you're too sensitive because it's quite it's a traumatic subject. Now, I want to stress this video is only for entertainment, if you like, and for interest. I'm not a psychologist. Just these cases, for me, I just cannot get my head around them. And the reason I wanted to do this video is I wanted to talk about why would somebody do, I really don't understand it. Even as we go into it, you'll see that I can see the reasons why he might have wanted to be separated from his family. Things happen, you get married, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. But the way he ended his marriage, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. He must have had some sort of mental aberration or something, because there was no way he was going to get away with it. There was no way, it just seems totally ridiculous to me. Even if you take away the fact that it's just a really shitty thing to do, a horrible thing to do, it's not even a clever thing to do. So what's the reasoning behind it? So anyway, let's get into it before I sort of, start rambling on as I normally do. So yeah, I just want to say it's not, I'm giving my opinion here. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an expert. These are my opinions will come into it. I'd like to know your opinion, because I really struggle to get a handle on these things. And I do find it fascinating or interesting to know what on earth would possess someone to do what this man did. Okay, so let's talk about Chris Watts. So this happened in Colorado, in America. There's been lots of similar cases, and I will go into other cases as well in future videos here and there, because as I say, it just totally, it just seems incredible to me. Now, Chris killed 4 victims, 4 of his family, and these people that he killed were his wife, Shannan, who was pregnant with their unborn child, Nico, which was a boy, apparently a long-awaited son, that they'd been waiting for a son. He also killed, she was 15 weeks pregnant at the time when he killed her, and killed the baby, of course, as well. But he also killed Bella. One of his daughters was 4 years old. And he also killed his other daughter, Celeste, who was 3 years old. Again, this I just cannot get my head around, because you know what, you can see that people are fighting, they're having an argument, couples fall out, people do things in the heat of a moment. I think everybody is capable of a fit of rage. However, to then go on and strangle your daughters, your little daughters, that I just, it's like, well, anyway, he did it, and bearing in mind that these daughters thought he was their hero, and to all intents and purposes, he had always been a good father, always. And it's totally out of character. I think this is what I find intriguing as well. So let's just set the scene a little bit. Shannan was a young woman, very beautiful. She'd had some health problems. She'd been suffering with lupus, and apparently, he'd helped her all through that illness. And but they had some quite high medical bills. So financially, they were having problems. if you watch the Netflix documentary about this case, which I will put the link in the description box, and some other links of things that you can watch, I think what makes this case all the more sort of gives you attracts attention, if you like, more, is because their life up to this point was played out on social media. Shannan had one of these multi-level marketing companies, and she did a lot of videos. Their whole life was on video, really, on social media, and so to watch all that. So much so that the Netflix documentary, there is no narration or anything, it's just all videos all put together of all the videos that she'd done over the years, and then the videos following their tragic murder. Um, and they look like, you know what social media is like. People, oh, everyone's having a great time. So nobody puts anything on social media when they're not having a great time. You don't go on there and say, oh God, look, we've just had this terrible argument and I hate my husband, or, whatever, or, the kids have just had a right tantrum and they've made a mess in the room. It's all, you only put on the positive things. So people watching it think, oh, they've got this perfect life. Well, obviously they didn't have a perfect life. And people, we know now that they didn't, going back looking at messages that had gone between Shannan and her friends, and the fact that Chris was having an affair as well. So all this pitch perfect life, it was just a facade. It was smoke and mirrors. It just wasn't real. So yeah. Now, the thing about Chris as well is when they got married, before they had their children, etc., Shannan was the main earner, if you like. She had built her own house. I mean, he had a job, don't get me wrong, he wasn't a deadbeat, she had a good job. But she was the main wage earner. But of course, as time went on, she got ill. I think, financially things got more difficult for them. And then, of course, they had the children. They had to try really hard to have the children because she was told that she might not be able to have children because of the lupus. So they had 2 girls. And there's a very emotional video of when she sort of tells Chris that she's pregnant, that she's taking a video as he walks in, something like, oh, we did it again. And, you can, to me, on that video, although he's all, oh, great, but you feel, reading with, obviously right in front of the video, he didn't want to say, oh, for God's sake, I didn't want another baby. But you do feel that. I did anyway. But he comes over, although he's really happy, blah, blah, blah. But apparently in private, he was expressing those feelings to Shannan, saying that he didn't really want another child, etc. And then basically the truth was that by then Chris didn't want to be married to Shannan anymore. He'd met a new woman called Nicoles Kessing that he worked with. They'd been having an affair for quite some time. I think she was a bit younger than Shannan. I don't think she was that much. Shannan was young. I mean, she wasn't, it wasn't as if, he was in his 50s and he decided he wanted a younger woman. I mean, I don't think there was that much age difference, etc. He just wanted someone, he didn't want to be married and he didn't want to be a father anymore. And something interesting that had happened to Chris is when he got married, he was quite overweight. And I was really surprised when I saw the photos of the wedding. Because when you see Chris later on, like when he's arrested, he's a handsome guy. He's really sort of muscular. And so he'd gone on some sort of, whether it was because he met the girl or whether it was after he went on the health kick, etc., that he met the girl. I don't know. I don't know what the timeline was there. But he looks like a different person, suddenly. So he's gone from being this quite overweight sort of guy, still quite good looking, and I'm not saying that, but suddenly he's this toned, muscled sort of Chippendale, so he did make big changes in his life. And as I said, I don't know if that's because of the girlfriend or it's because of the changes that he made in his life that he decided he wanted a new girlfriend. Who knows the actual nuts and bolts of that. But yeah, basically he didn't want to be married to Shannan anymore. And I think she knew that. They had talked about things. She had confessed to one of her friends that she was quite scared of him by then. So there must have been some aggressive interludes before for her to. See, this is the other thing I don't understand about men. Maybe they don't realise, he didn't realise that women tell their friends things. So, when this all happened, obviously then the friend is going to say, oh, yeah, she did say that she was scared of him. And they had these arguments. And maybe men don't realise that women do discuss things with their friends. So it's not that you think, oh, nobody will know that we didn't like each other. I mean, her friends knew. We tell our friends things that women do talk about their lives, tend to talk about their lives a lot more than men do. So all this sort of came to a head, if you like, on the 13th of August 2019. So not that long ago, only last year. So that's why it's quite sort of current and still, talked about, I suppose. And Shannan had been on a weekend trip, and see where she'd been. She'd been on a business trip to Arizona for this multi-level company that she had a business. She was successful, and she had asked her friend Nicola to pick her up at Nicoles, to pick her up at the airport and take her home. Now, not sure why she asked her to pick her up, but of course Chris was looking after the girls, I suppose. So maybe that's why she phoned a friend. But she had spoken to her friend many times about the problems that she was having with Chris. That he wasn't really that happy about the fact she was pregnant, etc. Even though it was this long-awaited son, which apparently, because they had two girls already, apparently he was happy they had a son. But nobody knew then about the affair. I don't think Shannan knew about the affair. Possibly she did, maybe she did, I don't know. But anyway, so she arrived home. What time was she dropped off? I think it was about 3 in the morning. Chris was there with the girls, and who knows what really happened then. Obviously, we've only got his version of what happened then when she arrived home. And he has changed it a couple of times. So I'm not even going to go into that. You can have a look at some of Google it or have a look at some of the links to find out what he said happened then. Now, basically, she then missed an appointment. And her friend Nicole, she had an appointment the next morning to do with her pregnancy, and she didn't go. Now, I'm not sure how Nicole would have known. Maybe Nicole was supposed to meet her there, or maybe she tried messaging. Anyway, she did try messaging her, no reply. So she immediately phoned the police. And you know what? I just think, thank God for Nicole and for a friend who cares about you. I mean, it didn't save their lives, unfortunately, but it meant he was caught so quickly, because he probably thought, he could, cover his tracks. He had all the time in the world to cover his tracks. Well, he didn't, because Nicole was right there like a bloodhound. Immediately, where is she? Why is she not answering her phone? And she phoned the police, and the police turned up at his house. And then, of course, Chris wasn't there because, Chris was off disposing of the bodies at the time. But of course, they didn't know that. They thought he was just at work. So this welfare check that the police did, it caught him completely off guard. And all this is on camera as well, on the policeman's body cam. And you know what? It's just chilling to me. If you watch it, you'll see. Because a lot of people say that you could tell that Chris Watts was guilty when he was watching the cctv surveillance a bit later on, which I'll talk about in a bit. But to me, you knew he was guilty as soon as he arrived back there, because the policeman was there, the friend Nicole was there. This guy got out of his car, went up to the policeman, shook his hand. Well, that gave me a chill. Because when you know what those hands were doing only a couple of hours earlier, when they were murdering his wife and his two small children, and then he shook the policeman's hand. I mean, that policeman, if I feel like cutting my hand off afterwards. You couldn't wash it enough, could you, to get his. And then And then the thing that made me think straight away, oh, he's definitely guilty. He turned to Nicole, sort of looked at her for a split second, and he knew he was going to get no reception from her. She wasn't going to be shaking his hand or even saying hello. She just turned away with it. She was holding him over. And he just looked away quickly, and he couldn't even look her in the face or even speak to her because he knew he was guilty and he could not look Shannon's friend in the face. Anyway, in they go into the house, don't find anything because he's taken the bodies by them. Everything looks sort of normal, but the neighbour, brilliant. He had CCTV. And you know, whatever you think of CCTV, I mean, I do think it's helped to solve a lot of cases. Whether you think it's a good thing, a bad thing, or whatever it is, he had CCTV, obviously, you know, outside his house, but it caught images of Chris leaving, loading things up into his car in the early hours of the morning, and leaving with the, you know. I mean, obviously you couldn't see what he was loading into the car, but you could see that he was loading things into the car. That's when a lot of people will say they knew he was guilty, because as he was watching this CCTV, he goes like this. You see, it goes like this. And really, it's not because he's thinking, you know, about Shannan or the kids, it's because he's thinking, shit, I forgot about the CCTV. Yeah, you can just see it. And even the neighbour calls the policeman to one side and says, he's not acting right. He's not acting his normal self, you know. So, see, this is, as I said, this is what I just don't understand. Did he really think he could just murder his wife and two little girls and whisk them off and nobody would, I don't know, there wouldn't be much fuss made? I don't know, did he really think they'd be like, oh, it'll die down after a couple of days? Oh, yeah, you know, yeah, oh, yeah, my wife's disappeared and my pregnant wife's disappeared and my two kids, but yeah, a couple of days and then it'd be old news. I mean, how thick was he? You know, I mean, or was he just so in love with this other girl that he just couldn't think? I just don't get it. And why didn't he just divorce her? You know, people get divorced. This is what people do. You know, so it happens all the time. You know, what makes him different for everybody else? They think, oh, I can't be bothered getting a divorce. It's too much hassle. Just kill him. Just kill him, and then that's be the end of that. You know, I just think he must be totally thick or totally insane. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, how could somebody do that? Apart from how could you do it? How could you do it and think you'd get away with it? You know, even if you take out the emotion of the fact that it's such a horrible thing to do. Anyway, so in the next couple of days, he was showing. Obviously, there's this big manhunt. Well, not manhunt, big search for Shannan and the girls. And he's just like carrying on. It's like he unenrolled the girls from preschool straight away. You think, why did he do that? I mean, that's like to go to the nursery and unenroll them. That's because he didn't want to pay us. But you know, if you're thinking they're okay, because he's saying, oh, I hope they're all together somewhere and I hope they're all okay, you'd be thinking, well, she'll be back tomorrow or whatever, if you don't know that anything's happened. So why would you unenroll them? So that he was planning holidays with his girlfriend, I take it. He was inquiring about life insurance policies. Don't ever take out a life insurance. That's one thing I've learned from watching true crime things. Take out a life insurance policy, your time's limited. You know, I know he was making appointments to sell the house. It was, you know, he was just he was acting just in those few days, because he wasn't long before he was arrested, to be honest. He didn't get many days freedom. He was acting as if, you know, she wasn't coming back or whatever, you know, so he obviously knew what happened to her. And the police knew. It's just a question of getting evidence, isn't it? So they couldn't find any evidence because they hadn't found the bodies. Anyway, finally, he took a lie detector test, because I suppose he felt like he couldn't refuse. probably thought that he could pass it, because he's not all there really, is he? I mean, I'm just like, oh, I'll pass that lie detector test. I, I don't know, but I suppose he didn't feel that he could say, no, I'm not taking a lie detector test. But if he was any sort of intelligent person, that's what he would do, to say, no, I'm not taking one because they're not reliable or whatever. I mean, it couldn't have been used against him. So it just wasn't very clever. But anyway, yeah, he took the lie detector test. It proved that he was lying. So they started questioning him. Now, all the footage of the interrogation is on camera. You can watch that too, and it's I know it's morbid, but it's very fascinating. To me, it's fascinating because I like to know how people's minds work, and I just don't know how this guy's mind works at all. So he's giving the interview, and then you can see that he's sort of not quite sure what to say, especially when the lie detector result comes back. So he asked for his father to be able to have a little chat to his father. And while he's having a little chat to his father, he admits to killing Shannan. And why did he kill her? Because she killed the girls. So he's walked in, found that she's strangled the two girls. So he killed her out of revenge and rage for what she had done to the girls. That to me is even worse than anything else he's done. Terrible what he's done, but to then try and blame a loving mother for killing those two girls that he had done, blackening her name or trying to. I mean, nobody believed him, I suppose. Although I think his dad believed him. That's a whole nother story. If you look into his family, that perhaps some of the answers are there, because that's their whether they cared about Shannan or not. Those two girls that were murdered, they're their grandchildren, and they still really blame Shannan for it. Like she deserved it, and then it's because of her that he killed the girls. Just it doesn't bear thinking about. But yeah, maybe some of your answers are there as to why he's such a Fruit Loop. Anyway, so he did confess to his dad that, and then as time went on, I think he realised he had to own up, and he did own up, and he put those girls in like I mean, they were like big drums of oil on the property, like of where he worked. He worked in, I'm not sure exactly what he did, but he submerged the two girls in these great big oil drum things, and just left Shannan sort of. I suppose he was going to go back and deal with her later. I don't know. He thought he would be able to get. He didn't realise, again, thanks to the friend Nicole, he ran out of time and he ran out of options. He couldn't go back because he knew he was being watched. So he couldn't go back and cover his traces. Shannan was just in an open field in the end, covered in a blanket or whatever. So, yeah. So what do you think? I mean, why did he do that? Why did he do it? And why did he not just divorce her? Yeah, he fell in love with somebody else. These things happen. These things happen. I would never say you can't fall in love with somebody else, no matter how long you've been married, no matter how many children you've got. Who knows? We're all human beings. But that way of dealing with it, that way of escaping from it, he just didn't want to be a father anymore, maybe. Why do that to those girls? Or maybe they saw what he'd done to Shannan. But even so, could you really imagine doing that in cold blood to two beautiful little girls that thought you were their hero? My dad is my hero, this little girl says on one of the home videos that they've got. What sort of person are you? I mean, what is, you know, absolutely unbelievable. And unfortunately, there's quite a few of these family annihilators. There's been quite, several over the years. So, and I will be looking at some of those more. But I think the thing is, I think what I'm trying to get at is I just want to know what possesses somebody. As I say, a fit of rage is one thing, but if you look into the case more, you'll see if we can believe what he says, the girls weren't killed in a fit of rage. He took them to the site where he dumped Shannan, and then he suffocated them one after the other, smothered them with a blanket. And one of them had to watch the other one being murdered, and then knew that he was coming for her, and her last words apparently were, "No, Daddy." just It's just so sad. I was going to try and get through it all without crying, but anyway. Okay, so yeah, I'm sorry it's a sad topic, but I think to understand, you have to understand, you have to hope that this won't happen again. How do you stop it from happening? How do these people are normally men, I don't like to say all men, but I know most men would be absolutely outraged by what this guy did. So I can't say, I'm not having a go at men, but it tends to be men that do it. Is it because it's men who can't see any other way out? I don't know. Would a woman think, oh no, I'm just going to divorce him and that's it? I don't know. Just don't know what the reasons are, and that's what I'd like to know, because I think, well, that we don't, this cannot happen. I mean, it has happened many, many times, and I'm sure it'll happen many, many times again. But hopefully, the way to understand it, how do you recognize the signs? You're talking about a picture perfect family. He's like the couple next door. I mean, you just would never in a million years have it. He had no mental health problems as far as anyone knew. There was no history of abuse of domestic abuse. No warning signs, or were they? So, what do you think? Let me know what you think. And I hope you found it interesting. If you want to research, particularly the Netflix documentary, it is compelling, absolutely compelling. But really, you can look at any of the interrogations it's all very public. I'm presuming that Shannon's family have allowed this, to be public, because they want people to know what a piece of shit he is. That's what I would think. And I would like to express my deep sorrow and condolences to Shannon's family, because for me, watching all this information back, to me, Shannan seems like a loving mother, a good mother, a lovely person, and is just foul what that man has done to that family. Okay, Mali, so may your God go with you. Take care, and I'll see you next time in the next video. Thank you. Oh, don't forget the thumbs up and the subscribe, please. Bye.